Dear friends, I urge you as foreigners and exiles to abstain from sinful desires, which wage war against your soul. Live such good lives among the pagans that, though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your deeds and glorify God on the day that He visits us. Submit yourselves to the Lord, sake to every human authority, whether to emperor as the supreme authority or to governors who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. Slaves, in reverent fear of God, submit yourselves to your master, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also to those who are harsh. For it is commendable if someone bears up under the pain of unjust suffering because they are conscious of God. But how is it to your credit if you receive a beating by doing wrong and endure it? But if you suffer for doing good and you endure it, this is commendable before God. To this you were called because Christ suffered for you, leaving an example that you should follow His steps. He committed no sin, and no deceit was found in His mouth. When they hurled their insults at Him, He did not retaliate. When He suffered, He made no threats. Instead, He entrusted Himself to Him who judges justly. He Himself bore our sins in His body on the cross so that we might die to the sins and live for righteousness. By His wounds you have been healed. For you were like sheep going astray, but now you have returned to the shepherd and overseer of your souls. So today we're going to hear a testament of faith, and she's going to Laura Lane is actually going to give us describe what faith actually means to her, and it is so amazing how she defines it, because by the way she's describing it, you will understand that faith isn't blind. Faith is a vision, and as we hang on to that vision of beauty as a goal and as something that we know that God will deliver to us, you should be able to understand, especially coming from a woman who held on to the faith of during her daughter's sickness. Laura Lane's daughter died from a childhood cancer, and she has been working with a community of mothers to help them understand what is going on with their children and help them pray and help them to do the whole process. She's developed products like a journal to help people track what's going on with their child, the medications, the procedures, what they're eating, what they're saying, how they're feeling, and not for the negative part of it, but for the gratitude of it. She wants people to be grateful for every moment that they have and to celebrate each and every moment that they have with their children, even though they are sick. So let's listen to Laura Lane and what she has to say about faith. Swirly rainbow of death. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so part of my story, and I'm sure we talked about this before with my daughter Celeste when she was diagnosed with cancer back in 2011. So being thrown into the world of childhood cancer, the first thing we started doing was praying for a miracle. But when I realized, like, okay, well, how do you actually get a miracle? Like, how does this work? But if I pray for a miracle, how do I get a miracle? How does that happen? And everything that I read said miracles come from faith. I'm like, well, I've been studying faith and teaching faith my whole life. What am I missing here? Like, how do you actually get from one thing to the other? And so then I'm like, okay, I obviously don't understand faith well enough. And I started to research. And so what I discovered in my research is that we throw around the words hope, belief, and faith interchangeably. And they're actually three separate things. So hope is when we have a beautiful vision of something and a positive emotion to go along with it. I learned that definition of hope from Dr. Jerome Groopman and his book, The Biology of Hope. And so I'm like, that makes sense. So when I have a beautiful vision of something, that's when I have hope. But what differentiates hope from belief? Belief is when you actually fall in love with that idea. Because I can see, well, that's a really nice picture, but I haven't fallen in love with it. Once I fall in love with it, it changes from being a hope to being a belief. And when you look at the etymology of the word belief, you have be as in being, and leaf is an Indo-European word that means love. It literally means to fall in love with something. And so whether that's a person or an idea or a concept or God or whatever it is, you've taken this beautiful vision and you've fallen in love with it. But that in itself is not faith yet. I can take an acorn and I have this beautiful vision of a gorgeous oak tree that I'm going to have in my yard. And as it gets bigger and bigger, I'm going to be able to put a swing in it for my kids or my grandkids to swing on. I'm going to be able to lie in the shade of that tree and just watch the leaves change colors every fall. And I have just fallen in love with this idea of an oak tree in my yard. But while that acorn is sitting in my hand, it will never turn into an oak tree. What I need to do next is I need to now look for inspired wisdom that would tell me what I need to do with that acorn. So I would reach out to an arborist, and an arborist would tell me, now, Laura, you need to dig down so many inches in the ground and plant that acorn. You're going to cover it up. You're going to make sure it gets enough water, that it gets enough sunshine. You're going to make sure that the squirrels don't dig it up. And then as it begins to grow, you're going to protect it from the rabbits. You're going to protect it from the deer. You're going to nurture it and just take care of it and watch it grow. So now I have this inspired wisdom. The next step is, do I trust it enough to act on it and serve that beautiful vision? So that is the encompassment of faith. So faith is when we believe, we listen, we act, We serve and we trust. So you can remember that with the word BLAST. Believe, listen, act, serve, and trust. So then that is when we have transferred this beautiful vision to actually something that is happening, and that's actual faith. That we trusted enough to act on it and do something. So with my daughter, I need to listen to inspired wisdom on what I need to do to help her, that I need to tune into the Almighty and say, what do I do in this situation? And then I need to listen and then trust it enough to actually act on it. And then that's when miracles will happen. And we can have that happen in so many different areas of our life that I don't have to tell you what to believe, but I can tell you the steps to take the things that you believe, this beautiful vision that you fall in love with, how to manifest that in your life and see miracles happen.